Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of my Intro to Rails series. By the end of the series, you'll definitely be at least an intermediate at Ruby on Rails. In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to improve our search by making it so that when you type a character, it shows the available options that come up with that character, essentially making the search responsive, and we're going to do that using Hotwire and also Turbo. So that's one thing we need to do, and also the other thing we're going to do is we're going to make it so that the page infinitely loads. So we're going to have pagination, but it's going to be done via Turbo, and that's going to be done infinitely, right? And so the first thing that we need to do to actually accomplish this is we need to switch our database to Postgres. And the reason that we're going to do that is because when we want to search, we're going to use a function that only comes with Postgres and Sqlite doesn't have it. If you don't know what Postgres is, it's an alternative to Sqlite. It's what people use in production. Production means when apps are online, right? And so Postgres is generally just, it's more used, it's more common. And Sqlite is more common in development, okay? It's perfect for development because it's lightweight. But once you get to production, you really want to have as much features as you can have. And that's why we're changing it to Postgres in development, okay? And so to get started doing that, what we have to do is we have to install Postgres. So I'll just get the right layout first for you. Okay, and then let's get started. So I'm going to stop the server, do clear, and we're going to run a sudo apt update just to check that all our packages are updated. I did this only a second ago, so they should all be good. And then the next command that we're going to run is called sudo apt install Postgresql, and then it's going to be postgresql-contrib and then libpq-dev, right? And this command is the command to install Postgresql on our system. It takes about 162 megabytes of space, so you're going to need that much, and it's not really big. I already have it on my PC, so that's why it didn't take long at all to install, because it wasn't installing, it was just checking that it was already there. But for you, this is going to take like maybe a minute or so, depending on your Wi-Fi connection, and then you'll have it installed and we'll be at the same step, okay? And so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change my database settings so that they match up to the Postgres. So to do this, we go to config in database.yaml, and currently this file is set up for Sqlite 3, right? Because we have an adapter, it says Sqlite 3, and it's set up for Sqlite 3. So I'm going to go and copy and paste all this in, and this is just code that I have from previous, and it's adapted for PostgreSQL. Here there's an empty password. We're going to have to go and do that. And if you want this code, all you have to do is look in the description and then there'll be a link to this code, but otherwise you can just type it out. It shouldn't take that long anyway. Where it says password here, what we're actually going to do is we're going to go ahead and say rails.application.credentials.database_password, right? And so now we're going to go into the Rails credentials and we're going to actually make this work. So in the terminal, we're going to say export editor is equal to nano. And nano is just a terminal editor. So we could also say VS Code, but in this case, I'm going to use nano. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run the command rails credentials edit, okay? And so now we've got this inside of our terminal. And the reason that I wanted to introduce you to nano is that it's really, really useful and I really like it. It's quite cool, right? And inside of here, you need to know how it works. So we move about by using the arrow keys, and all the really helpful stuff is at the bottom here. Like if you want to exit or if you want to cut or paste or whatever. And so that's really handy, but we're just going to go at the bottom here, just underneath everything. And we're going to say database_password, and then we just have a colon, and then we're going to set our database password, right? I'm just going to set it as like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, okay? It doesn't really have to be secure because we're in development, but if you're doing this for production, then you definitely want it to be secure. I could even just... So now that I've done that, I'm going to save this file by hitting Control X and then hitting the Y key, and it says save modified buffer. We do want to save this, so I'm going to hit yes. And then it hits file name to write, and we're going to hit enter, and it says file encrypted and saved. Make sure it says this, just to make sure that that actually was encrypted and saved, although I do trust it a lot. We're going to go and check, sorry about that, we're going to go and check that it was actually encrypted and saved. And as you can see here, it says database password 123456778. Okay, and so now we're going to Control X and we're back to the terminal. Now what I'm going to do is do a clear, and now there's pretty much 2 steps left. We have to add the Postgres gem to the gem file and install it, and we also have to add the password for the actual user to connect. So now that we've got this in here, what we need to do is go to the terminal and we need to say sudo -i-u Postgres. This essentially means login as the Postgres user. Postgres user comes pre-installed with Postgres. That makes sense, right? So we have one user pre-installed. You can create other users, but this is the main user and it already has admin privileges. So we're going to be using this one. So hit enter. And then now we're logged in as the Postgres user. And then inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to say PSQL just to go into the Postgres, well, just so we can type Postgres commands. And then inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to say alter user Postgres password. And then we just have to put the password, right? And we put that as 123456778. And so what this is going to do is set the password for the Postgres user to connect to the database as 123456778. And if you notice up here, this is the same password as it was in this password in the credentials, right? So this credentials essentially is just, imagine this here as a variable and it's 123456778. And it says username Postgres and we have to add the password. But instead of just saying 123456778 here, we're actually putting it in credentials just so that when we upload our project to GitHub, nobody knows our password for our Rails application, right? Although everyone's going to know my password because I'm uploading this video, but that's not going to matter. And so I'm going to hit enter on this command. And now that that is done, we can do /q or /q and then exit. And so now that we've done all that, all we have to do is install the Postgres gem, which we can do by going to rubygems.org. Got to get in the habit of that. rubygems.org, and we're going to search up PG. And as you can see, PG is the Ruby interface to Postgresql or DBMS, and it has 330 million downloads, so it is definitely a very popular gem. And we're just going to add this line to our gem file. So go to the gem file, and it's underneath custom gems. We're going to add this gem PG 1.5, 1.5.9, and we can also get rid of Sqlite, or we can just comment it out by now by adding a hashtag, right? And so now that we've done all that, we're going to run bundle install, and bundle install is going to refresh the gem file. And then now that we've done that, we should be good to go, and we should be able to drop the database and then create the database. So, so go to the terminal, Rails db drop unsafe. And if you wanted to like port the data from your Sqlite database to your Postgres database, you're able to do that. But in this case, we don't want to, or we don't need to, because there was nothing important inside of the Sqlite database apart from like an account I created in 5 seconds, right? So for me, it's not necessary, but let's say you were working on that in production, you would be able to port your data or to transfer your data from the Sqlite database to the Postgres database. So now we're going to do Rails db create, and that should create our databases. And as you can see, it created the database, and that's because our Postgres user, if I go back to config database.yaml, our Postgres username was Postgres. That comes pre-installed with Postgres. Always have the username as Postgres, and then the password was 123456778, and that's because I altered the password in the terminal right here, and I said the password would be 123456778, and so it was successfully able to connect. I have seen many people go wrong in this step, and it can be quite difficult, but as long as you have these two things right, you have the username Postgres and you have the password as 123456778, or the same password you altered the user Postgres password in the terminal, then that you should be good to go and everything should be working. Because the database on my app DB right here, that doesn't matter, the name doesn't matter. I could set this as whatever I want. The same in test, right? And production obviously isn't created because we're in development, okay? And so now that we've done that, we have successfully switched to PostgreSQL or Postgres database, and so that's great. We can just check that our application is still working. And the reason that we've done this is because it's going to allow us to access a wide range of methods and functions or extra features that we didn't get with okay, so we're running to a migration error, simple migration error. All we have to do is run our pending migrations, right? And as you can see, the application looks like it's working. Just to make sure, okay, this is being a bit annoying. Sorry about this. Okay, and then I'm just going to sign up just to make sure that we're actually able to do this, and Postgres is 100% working. So I'll sign up, and as you can see, it says welcome, you've signed up successfully, and that means that our Postgres is working, which is great, right? It says here insert into users, and yeah, so Postgres is working. That's the main thing.